Am I the asshole for refusing to pay full rent due to my brother's girlfriend practically living with us? Hello AITA, long-time lurker here in need of some help. Sorry if my English is not the best, not a native speaker. Sorry for the long text, let me know if there is any missing info you need. So I, 23F, live with my brother, 20M, and mother. We split rent plus utilities 3 ways evenly. My brother, let's call him David, has a girlfriend, 20F. About a year ago she started staying at our place. This increased in the coming months to her spending a lot of time here, I'm talking spending night and day for the majority of the week. Last fall around mid-October I voiced my unliking with this to both my brother and mother, saying I didn't like the fact that I was now to share my home with someone else. I felt uncomfortable and was getting annoyed with the fact that she was staying in our home even when my brother wasn't around. My mother said she would bring it up with my brother. Months passed and I would often ask if she had talked to him, to which she always said she was going to soon. Around late December I had noticed that David was able to unlock our door with a key even though his girlfriend had already arrived with a key of her own. I questioned my mother about this and she confessed to making a new set of home keys to David's girlfriend. I was furious and she promised to take it back and acknowledged that it was wrong to do so without asking me first. Come New Year I brought it up again and this time she did a 180 and said that it's her home and she has no issues with David's girlfriend spending so much time here and that if I didn't like it I could move. I responded by pointing out that I have no means to do so and that I was an equal part owner since I pay 1/3 of the rent and utilities. I told her that if David's girlfriend is going to be living here, at this point she spends about 70% of her time here instead of at her home, then I'm going to dock $50 from my rent and she can recoup that from David's rent. I told her that this is the consequences of her actions and my way of showing that I'm not okay with the situation and that I'm not going to pay for David's GF. My reasoning is as follows. 1. The rent plus utilities is split 3 ways since we are 3 people living here, now there's 4 and it should be split accordingly. Until this can be arranged I'm docking $50. 2. Since we are 3 people sharing a home evenly, that means that one person can't just give away a key without everybody's consent. 3. If she is going to stay here against my wishes, given that 2 out of 3 wants it, then I'm not going to be paying for her share, which in my mind I do since she lives here for free, using up hot water, electricity and so on. I also told her that if the situation hasn't changed by summer I will dock another $10 each month until we change the way rent is split or David's girlfriend spends less time here. My mom says am I the asshole, and so does my brother for docking my rent. So Reddit, am I the asshole? Edit. Info. My mother owns the place. It's an apartment she bought using her divorce money. There is no loan, mortgage, so all it costs is rent. Don't know the English word for what it is we pay, plus utilities. And #X200B. Info. The home is an owned apartment with a homeowner association due costing £900 each month and on top of that utilities. I'm a full-time student and both my brother, his girlfriend and mother works. The rent I pay is about 50% of my monthly income. And #X200B. Info. Where I live, Northern Europe, living at home at my age is not uncommon. The housing crisis is big here and most people move out around age 25. Not the asshole. If the girlfriend basically lives there, then she or the boyfriend needs to pick up her portion of the expenses. However, right now you don't have a leg to stand on by reducing payment. You'll either need to move out, or report her to the landlord since she's staying there but not on the lease. Edit. Just saw that mom owns the apartment. So technically you're NTA, but there's nothing you can do about it. It's her house, her rules, so if you don't like it then you have to move out. Or bring in a moocher boyfriend to live with you. Info. Who actually owns the home? Nah. Yes. They aren't being fair, but it's your mom's house, so she makes the rules. I don't see a problem with you submitting a quarter of the rent. If your mom doesn't like it, she can do something about it. It's not your job to pay for your brother's personal life, but you are an adult and nobody owes you anything either. Info. Who is on the lease? Info. Is it your mother's place? Meaning, is her name on the lease? Am I the asshole for not allowing my husband to give my daughter's phone to my mill? My mill has leukemia and has been in and out of hospital quite a lot for the past 3 years. It's especially difficult to get any updates on her condition when she is in hospital because she hasn't put my husband, her only child and only living relative, as her next of kin on her forms, so the staff are reluctant to give him information. And she refuses to get a mobile phone. The last time she got out of hospital, my husband told her how stressful it was trying to get information on how she was doing, and she told him that he would have to deal with it because she has no interest in getting a mobile phone. When I got a new phone last year, I gave my 10-year-old daughter my old one. She primarily uses it to upload YouTube shorts. She's been working at uploading every day recently and got her 9th subscriber and 100th view a few days ago. She was ecstatic and said she was going to keep building her channel and become a YouTuber. Tonight, my MIL phoned my husband and said she wanted his advice. She told him she'd been to see her GP, who told her if she didn't go to the hospital right away she wouldn't live to see the morning. She wanted to know what she should do. He told her it was obvious what she should do: go to the hospital. She said she didn't like the idea of going to the hospital and wanted him to give her an alternative. He told her to stop being ridiculous and get to the hospital ASAP. He asked her why the GP didn't arrange an ambulance if it was that serious, and she said she told the GP not to bother phoning an ambulance because she has a lunch tomorrow afternoon and she would have to make arrangements to reschedule it and also arrange for her dog to be cared for. After a few minutes of back and forth, she told my husband that she wasn't going to phone an ambulance and disturb the paramedics, that she would just see how she goes overnight and if she dies, she dies. My husband then said he would come over and bring her himself, to which she was very thankful. My husband then came to me and asked where my daughter's phone was. I said it was in her room and asked why. He said he was taking it to give to Mill while she's in hospital, and I told him he wasn't. I told him that 1, it was my phone and I gave it to our daughter. 2, if Mill wanted a phone, she's had more than enough time to get one. 3, our daughter would feel like she was being punished by having her phone removed. And 4, if Mill wanted him to have information about her while she's in hospital, she'd have made him her next of kin. He has made it clear to her how difficult it is for him to get information, but she hasn't done anything to make it easier. He got really angry with me and said I'm being difficult, and he's left in a huff with me. I rang my mum to vent and she said that I should have given over my daughter's phone, but my dad said I was absolutely in the right. Now I'm conflicted. So, am I the asshole? Edit to add. Several people are focusing on the fact that my daughter uses YouTube. While I understand the concern, her face appeared briefly in 2 videos that have now been deleted. The videos she uploads are mostly stop-motion videos involving her toys and random household objects, so she doesn't appear in them at all, and comments are switched off. I also didn't ask about that. I asked if I was the asshole for not letting Mill take the phone. Don't hospital rooms have phones? Not the asshole, is she a narcissist? Phoning your so. To tell him you might die overnight but don't want to make a fuss, but then letting him drive her. It all sounds like she wants to make a fuss? Unless the docs have confirmed this was actually the case. Not the asshole. Gas stations sell burner phones. Not the asshole. I'm guessing from the language used, GP, and your Mill stubbornness to not accept help you are either from the UK or Ireland, and each bed should have a phone that you can top up. Tell your husband to stick a tenner on that, then she can call him and you'll get a number that will call that certain phone. He can get her a flip phone from Target or Walmart. I kind of doubt she'd use it, she seems to enjoy all of the attention and drama. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for threatening to cut off support to my daughter if she can't be civil with my GF? I, 54M, lost my wife to cancer 11 years ago. It was hard for my kids, 26M, 24F Jane, and me, but my daughter was devastated. Jane and my wife were extremely close and she's been in therapy for many years at this point. I never thought I'd date again and did my best to be supportive and give both of them enough love to fill the void left by my wife. It was tough and very trying at times, but I'm proud of the people my kids have become. Last year I was taking an oil painting class and met a woman, Lacey, 42F. She's the first person I've had feelings for since my wife died. She had divorced her husband a year prior, so we were both taking it slow. I waited a couple of months before telling my kids I was seeing her. My son was happy for me and told me he was glad I found someone. Jane, however, was rather cold and distant when I told her. I asked what was wrong and she said nothing was wrong. Lacey and my son get along quite well, but Jane has only been cold and passive-aggressive towards her. Lacey has tried her best to be kind and hasn't pushed to be in Jane's life, but Jane's attitude hasn't changed. Jane always makes rude comments about Lacey whenever I see her at this point, regardless of whether Lacey is there. Every time I ask her what her problem with Lacey is, she just deflects, and pushing the question just makes her more angry and defensive. This came to a head last weekend. We had a family gathering to celebrate my mother's 82nd birthday. Jane asked why Lacey was there at all, and I told her that Lacey is important to me and she gets along really well with Grandma. As a side note, the two get along really well since they're both into knitting and arts and crafts. Jane stormed off. I was talking with my son and nephew while Lacey and my mom were talking. Lacey got up to go get a drink, but when she came back she was almost in tears and told me she wasn't feeling well. I pulled her aside and asked what happened, and apparently Jane had said some very harsh things to Lacey and stopped short of outright calling her a gold digger. We went home after that. The next day I called Jane over and Lacey went to the spa. I told Jane that she doesn't have to treat Lacey like her mom, but she has to at the very least be civil. She told me I was replacing her mom and that she hated that I was trying to forget her mom. I told her I still visit her mom's grave twice a month and that was completely unfair of her to say. I asked her if she wanted me to be alone for the rest of my life, and she said she'd prefer that over me dating a woman who only likes me for my money. I told Jane that and said either she acts civil with Lacey or I will no longer be giving her money every month. She called me an ass and left. My son called me later and said that I wasn't being fair and it's just taking a while for Jane to accept me moving on. I'm not sure what I should do at this point. I understand Jane is hurting, but I can't stand seeing her take it out on Lacey. Am I the asshole? Edit. I couldn't fit it in the character limit, but I've seen some comments asking. Jane is in her junior year of college, and I'm paying for her so she can focus on her studies. I encouraged both my kids to take time before deciding what their plan was, and my daughter tried some different fields to figure out what she wanted to study. Not the asshole. You don't even need a reason to stop giving an adult child an allowance. Not the asshole. I guess Jane, an adult, is worried that Lacey will somehow be cutting into her monthly support. Edited to fix Lacey's name. Not the asshole. Her grief is allowed to be different than yours, but she has absolutely no right to punish you or Lacey for your life moving forward. You are allowed to love someone again. Not the asshole. But be careful. I won't try to understand the trauma of losing a mother that young. However, at 24, and presumably 11 odd years of therapy, your daughter should be more rounded, and at the very least, respectful to your choices and partner. It's just good manners. I don't think threats are good though. It's a counterproductive method for a damaging outcome. You have raised two kids alone. After a death, you are allowed happiness, and perhaps you could get your 24-year-old to stand on her own 2 feet. Not the asshole. 11 years after your wife's death. Therapy is not working. Your daughter has no right to tell you. She'd rather you alone and unhappy. Time to move on. Maybe if she was not getting money from you, she'd grow up and move on as well. Don't get guilted into not living life. Am I the asshole for bragging about how much money I make, and tearing other women down? I, 34F, and my husband, 36M, are friends with a couple, A, 33F, and J, 36M. Our husbands are old college friends, and we all have a lot in common: kids the same age, same hobbies, live close. They're a little crunchy and judgy. For example, when my husband converted to Catholicism before we married, they had nasty things to say about it. There's also always been weird rural competition between us, mostly on their side. Whose garden is better, who killed the biggest deer, etc. But the real weird spot is money. We clearly make more money than them. Jay makes a comfortable living, stays at home. But my husband and I make quite a bit more. You can just sense there's tension when money comes up. A is really sweet and I enjoy having her as a friend. We work out together while our kids play, we volunteer at the same place, and have many mutual friends. However, she's made some comments in the past and I don't think I realized how much they got under my skin. Mostly about me being a working mom. I have a very successful psychiatric practice, and less crunchy than she is. Little comments about how homeschooling means she loves her kids and cares about their future, etc. I don't ever take the bait. I'm usually level-headed and calm, but maybe resentment was building up? Recently I joined an MLM, Plexus, which sells gut health, pink drinks. She tried to convince me to recommend it to clients. Gut health and mental health are connected, and I firmly but politely said no. I was pretty upset that she'd even suggest it, but was calm. I thought that was the end of it. But recently at a social function she gave me some without my knowledge, then tried to convince me I should sell Plexus. I kept saying no, being polite, and it was becoming more and more embarrassing as some of the other moms there also do MLMs, And she kept saying I could make more money than I make at my practice and be a real mom instead of a half-time mom. I snapped. I saw red. Real mom? I went off on her about how I make $250,000 plus per year and probably outdid even the top Plexus sellers, which she'll never be as she doesn't have some crazy IG following. I told her MLMs are dumb and predatory, and for moms with superiority complexes about staying home but still want an income but most likely won't ever get one from MLMs. That she should look up MLM statistics and not live in fantasy land. I was really awful and harsh, and after getting home I felt really bad about what I said and how I said it. I apologized that night for the mean parts of what I said, but she demanded I walk back what I said about Plexus, and wouldn't apologize back. I don't think I should have to lie to stay friends with her, even though I want to go back to how things were. She's since blown up about me to friends and social media. Our friends are split on who's the but nobody's taking strong sides really. My husband supports me either way, and thinks I was in the right, but I'm really not sure I was. So, am I the asshole? Edit as suggested from the comments. I am 6 months pregnant, and when she switched my drink I was already on the verge of seeing red because I especially don't want to ingest unregulated drinks while pregnant. Not the asshole, but why are you friends with this woman still? She thinks you're a half-time mom, and has either dosed your drink or purposely switched out your drink to make you drink something without your consent. Seriously, WTF? This was after you had already said no to her more than once. Friendly competitions over the best garden are one thing, but refusing to respect your boundaries? Implying that you're not a real mom because you also work? Feeding you something without your knowledge? That's not a friend. That's an asshole predator run. Not the asshole. She personally attacked you and your parenting in public. She provoked the fight. You're not an asshole for defending yourself, though there was no need to mention how much you make as it is irrelevant. The fact that you work outside the home does not make you less of a parent. You apologized for your harsh words. She had no right to say that you are not a real mom. She owes you an apology. Hopefully with time, she can gain some perspective about how awful she treated you. Otherwise, I'd let the friendship cool. Not the asshole. 1. She wasn't accepting no as an answer, a classic sign of asshole behavior. 2. She tried to manipulate you by judging you as a mother, which is a sensitive topic. You said what you said because you were pushed to your breaking point. Before that, you were civil. 1. She put something in your drink that you did not consent to, while you are pregnant. 2. She would not take no for an answer and began insulting you and your parenting in public. I would have gone off on her too. The money comment was relevant. I probably would not have apologized to her until she apologized for all of her above-mentioned actions first. As it stands, she would no longer be my friend, friendly acquaintance, and anyone who give me grief over this is told about 1 + 2, and if they still give me grief, they too are no longer my friends. Not the asshole. Info. Why do you spend time with these people when you don't actually like them? You're building up resentment. Understandably. But life's too short. You should have addressed her comments either and nipped this shit in the bud, or walked away a long time ago.